All right. So, Wade, today we're going to have a chat about the points we've got is how we've started converting businesses to online businesses. So, do you want to give us a bit of a background with your experience with how you went from working in your industry, establishing a business, and then converting that online?
Yeah, definitely. Because I started as a graphic designer and I worked for a print shop for about 10 years or so and basically got to that point where I knew that I didn't want to work for someone else anymore. So I just thought, well, my idea was I wanted to build passive income. I'd read a few books and that was the first thing I actually tried to do, despite the fact I ended up freelancing for a few years first. I just started reading about how to build passive income online. Read some books. One book I read was What I Learned from Google. I can't remember the name.
Is that actually a title? What I Learned from Google?
Yeah, What I Learned from something that Google didn't. It's. I'll have to actually get the book out next time. But I think it's Jamie.
Because you could write
McIntyre.
like a million books on like what I learned from Google.
Yeah, I think it was an Australian guy named Jamie. I think his name's Jamie McIntyre, and he basically talks about like wealth creation, kind of like the Australian Robert Kiyosaki, basically. Uh, but I read that book from him, and it gave me a ton of ideas. And I started actually reading a website by a guy named Pat Flynn called smartpassiveincome.com, and he's probably one of the main guys in the space that people refer to as, getting them on the track. So read a few things and then just got obsessed with it and started trying to build blogs and build bits and pieces using my skill set, because I was a graphic designer, but I've been building websites for, at that stage, probably about 10 years, probably more, since I built my first website in school when I was 15. So, basically just started trying to do that. It wasn't moving as quick as I wanted, so I decided that I wanted to put it on the back burner, and I basically started building a freelance business from there for web design and graphic design. So I actually just reached out to a few people to offer them some work. Some people I offered them work for free to get started, and then I got a bit busy. I also just got a few friends, people like yourself, Ryan, did a website for you and your business, and just slowly built it from there after hours. And then once I started getting a bit of traction, I made a decision to quit. So the way I actually started that business is I actually told my wife at the time I'm going to work every morning and night outside of work, most Saturdays and Sundays, apart from 1 or 2 nights a week when I go out to do martial arts. And I just did that, and then at the end of the year I quit. Freelanced for a while, and then just worked on the passive income on the side. So that was building a YouTube channel, doing that after hours, and eventually making enough money to basically, what I call it, buying a day a week. So then I could go, cool, there's enough money coming in to cover a day a week. So I started doing that 1 day a week and just basically kept plugging away until...
So was this sorry to interrupt, but was this like a reactionary thing where you're doing it going, okay, I'm going to start out with the blogs, and then you sort of move to YouTube, or you were just sort of paying attention to what was working or coming back at you?
So I tried a bunch of different things. I basically was reading about all these different avenues, trying a whole bunch of different things. Blogging made sense to me because I could build websites and I learnt my way around WordPress. However, I started making videos on YouTube to put on my blog because I wanted to embed videos onto my blog. Excuse me. So that way I could actually have people go to my blog, watch a video I created on a certain project or software. And I noticed that because I signed up for, if you've heard of affiliate marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea where if I have a link to someone else's product and they click through and buy, I make a commission. So I was creating tutorials on WordPress themes, and I started noticing I was getting sales in a few $100 a month at one stage. And that was while I was still working. And I just realized when I checked my YouTube that most of those sales were actually just coming from YouTube and not from my website. So I kind of like flipped it around and started focusing on YouTube more and the website as a secondary destination.
YouTube was driving the traffic, was it?
Yeah, it was getting the videos were getting discovered and people were clicking through. So it just seemed to work really effectively at getting people, whereas not that many people were actually going to the website. Whereas YouTube, you have an established audience already. I literally was just popping it there and they were serving it up. So going somewhere where there was already a bunch of people using the website or the platform helped me to be discovered then. Yeah, okay. So that's sort of how I got onto that side of things, and I made the switch to YouTube. And just also, that seemed to be more in vogue as well. And I just enjoyed it more than writing as well.
Yeah, okay. So that was with your early video. So give us a bit of background on, like, okay, at this point, what's your channel looking like? Like, what's your workflow looking like?
Oh, yeah. So that's a good point. So my workflow was literally go to work. This is happening before I put in that solid year of freelancing outside of work. This is the probably 2 years leading up to that, where I was working at night and most weekends, pretty much my free time. I didn't have any kids or anything back then, so I just basically, whenever I wanted to, and I was obsessed, so I did it a lot. So it was just like check it in the morning before work, and I'd work on it till like 10, 11, or 12 at night some nights.
Yeah, wow.
And I just really enjoyed it, to be honest, because it felt like something I could actually invest my time into and make a difference with what I was trying to do. So, and the channel itself had, like, you were talking like maybe 20 or 30 subscribers, and just through search was still making affiliate sales. Like, there are times when I think I had a couple of good months. The best months I had while I was working, I had $700 or $800
just off 20 or 30 subscribers.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were like Black Friday. There was a Black Friday month was one. The other one, just
Yep.
I don't know what happened. Just hit a few good sales, and yeah, but it didn't grow much from there. And in terms to actually having a full-time income, it was stagnant there, and I just wanted to not work for a boss anymore. Great job, great place to work for. Just got to the point where you get sick of being told how you should be doing things sometimes, and even if they're reasonable, you just want to do things for yourself. So yeah, that was what it looked like. And then I literally left it, didn't look at it, and I remember while I spent 1 or 2 years, it was probably 2 years building the freelance. 1 year while I was working, and 1 year after I stopped working where I was doing it full time. And then I checked my channel, and I think I had about 120 subscribers just because those videos were getting views. But yeah, then of course, started working harder on it, and we started talking a bit more and exchanging ideas as well, which I don't know if the audience would know that or not, but we actually started working on our own channels individually, but talking a lot to each other about it. It's good to have someone you can talk to and get ideas from, and even someone to voice your own ideas to and get some better understanding. And yeah, just worked on it, chipped away, worked up to 1,000 over a few years, and then next thing you know, next year I got another 2,000 on top of that, and then another year or year and a half later, another 1,000, and then it ballooned up to like 10,000 in 6 months, and then now it's at 50 something thousand. So,
it's funny when it comes, it comes quickly.
Yeah, sometimes you just hit that tipping point where what you're doing is good. The right people are finding it, and then it's...
So if we were to just draw a timeline, like how many years was it in total when like you started your channel? You obviously weren't working full time at it because you're working for someone else and in the process of starting up your freelance to keep your cash flow coming in. So how long in total from you started your YouTube channel to where it is today?
So I could give you there's like two sections to this. It was 10 years in total until about now, maybe a little over 10 years. The first 5 or 6 years were very passive. I didn't put a ton of effort into it. I probably did about 20 videos in the first 5 or 6 years, just when I needed to. So that way, that kind of got it going a little bit. But when I knew that this was the place, this is where I wanted to do it, the following sort of 5 years or so was when I started going, cool, I want to start making sure I publish twice a month. And then it was once a week. And then I was trying to get a second video in every so often. And now I try to do 3 videos a week. Sometimes it's 2 if I'm going to be on holidays. But yeah, so I just, over that so the first 5 years were pretty unaggressive. But if you started aggressively making videos as often as you could, I think you could grow much quicker than that. Well, I think
that's, so even though you say 5 to 10 years time, if you broke that down into how many hours a week you were working on it, it probably wasn't a great deal. Like, that's not someone just going, I'm going to go hard out at YouTube and do an apprenticeship and build something, right?
Yeah. Oh man, that first 5 years when I did about 20 videos, those videos were 1 to 2 hours work each max, really, because I wasn't doing any heavy editing. I was recording my screen, talking. Like, you're talking about 20 videos at say 2 hours, that's 40, maybe 50 hours over 5 or 6 years. Wow. So that's not a lot. Whereas the following year, I probably did that in the first, 6 months. Whereas now it's full time. It's like I'm doing about 30 hours a week at the
just
moment.
on YouTube.
Probably about 20 just on YouTube at the moment while I'm wrapping up a few other things. But my schedule's 30 hours, and eventually that in the next sort of couple of months that'll be pretty much it full time, 30 hours.
Well, it's pretty cool. Like when you hear about it, because I think like I can relate to when I started my channel. Is it was like a conscious effort of, okay, I'm transitioning a bricks and mortar business to an online space now. And I'm in the position where I'm like pretty much going 50-50. And it's because I've had years where I've had other projects on where I just haven't been able to like put that time in to go full time. But yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of people are very curious about, okay, how long is it going to take me to get a channel going? What have I got to do? And there's so many variables on that, isn't there? Like what are you actually making content about? What are your current content making skills? Can you actually do half decent film?
Yeah. And it's practice then, isn't it? You have to actually just practice, look at what you're doing, review it, and just slowly refine it. Even talk to people who have done it before if you can. I think the biggest thing for me transitioning was from brick and mortar, like freelance type business to doing YouTube was definitely that idea of how do I actually slowly get it to roll over the freelancing. Because you can take the approach of going, well, I'll keep doing my job and then quit my job when the time comes. And it's a big, scary step, but also you are going flat out all hours of the day and because you're working during the day, you're doing it at night or weekends. And then all of a sudden it takes up your work day and it's pretty full on. Whereas I think I'm happy that I started my freelance because then I was able to go, cool, I could go to doing that full time much sooner because active income is quicker to generate, but it's a lot more work. And then as you generate passive income, go, cool, I'm doing this outside of hours still. The idea of being able to go, I'm making enough for one day, a fortnight, and just start there, and then you've got an extra day, a fortnight, and then slowly buy your days back. I think that's a great way of doing it, to be honest, because if you're someone who's cautious, like I'm pretty cautious, but at the same time I want to go for things, that's a great way to feel stable and track what you're doing. And also there's a reward. The more you try to perform, then the more time you get spent on it instead of on your other business. But it gets tricky. It has gotten tricky in the last year or so trying to actually eliminate the other business. That's the only issue.
Well, there's plenty of ways you could eliminate a business, like very quickly. Just start insulting all your clients, man.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Just call them up and go, look, I'm sorry. I don't deal with dickheads anymore.
No, but it's tough. It is tough when they are really good people. You're dealing with good people, and it's just you're just going in a different direction.
Yeah. Most people understand, though, when I say to people, one of the things I did is I looked up people I could refer my services onto. Because I'm a freelancer, I couldn't really just sell the business. If I'd started a studio with a name and that, but I just had it under my name. So I can't really, it's kind of difficult to sell. You probably could sell it. I know there's probably someone out there who has ways of doing it.
I'm sure you could try, man.
But at the same time, my name's on it. People are coming to me as a person. I don't think they're coming to the business entity. To me, that just felt like a little bit cheap, and I'd rather just then find some good people to refer onto. And then most people are supportive if you go, hey, look, here's someone so you can keep getting done what you need done. I can give you what you need to do that. And most people are supportive. They're happy to see you succeed, at least if they're good people anyway.
Yeah, and if they're not, well, that's their problem, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Like I think I said to you once before, I've had some people who are a bit funny about it. They're almost like a little bit entitled, and they just make it easier.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, cool. And I think that's because I remember talking to you about that transition when your YouTube channel really started popping off. And you were very smart about it, I thought, because one of the clever things, well, you spoke about rushing in a second ago. One thing people do, like, okay, this is happening. This is obviously going to just keep happening. And I can just like shut the doors on everything else, close my other business up, and I'm a YouTuber. But you did it over a period of like, I could be wrong here, but was it 6 to 12 months?
Pretty much I made the decision after 6 months, and the whole process was about 12 months.
So was that 6 months of it's going really well, and then a 6 month wind down period?
That's exactly right, yeah. Because, and like you said, I've actually watched this happen with someone I know where multiple times where they've started making a big income on a project. And I actually watched someone literally borrow a ton of money, refurnish the house and buy a new car and do all this crazy stuff. And because they were making, a decent amount of money per month, like more than what I'm currently making. But then the income shrunk back down pretty quickly, and all of a sudden they were in debt and became like a big deal. So I was like, I at the time I remember watching it happening and trying to sort of it was hard to watch. And sort of, you say something and people don't want to hear it, But, so...
Actually, it's on that, man. Like, I was chatting to someone the other day about this. There's another person I know, or you know him too, who's in business for himself. And he was talking about, we were talking about that exact idea of you can see someone's going to make a mistake. They're going to screw up real bad. And it's like, you mentioned, no one takes your advice is the bottom line, man. It's just why bother?
I think one of the biggest skills I learned as a freelancer, and especially as a designer, because it's part of the job, is going, okay, start getting used to people telling you things you don't want to hear, and then actually thinking about it, actually paying attention to it and going, well, does this make sense? Because in regard to that thing happening, I remember saying, this YouTube thing could be a spike that plummets. But it grew steadily over 6 months. So then I had a 6-month wind down period, because then I still had time for things to go wrong and I could pick up the pieces and put it back together.
Is that like a minimum period, do you think, for people who are looking for some ideas of okay, I've started the YouTube channel, it's going well, I've plugged a business model into it. Do you think 6 months is a nice period of time where it's okay, this is actually working? You've got some sort of...
I do think that's pretty good, yeah. I think also there are other factors you could put into it for an individual. When I started freelancing, I made sure I had 4 or 5 months of money in the bank before I quit my job. And that was so I could make mistakes. And that was a different thing. That was freelancing. That wasn't YouTube. But the idea then you go, okay, if it is spiking, I do think it takes time for things to actually wear out. I would say even 4 or 5 months, probably even 3 months if you're really in a rush. But 6 months is probably a nice safe number, I think. And I'm a cautious sort of person, and I think that depends on your situation. So if you have a partner who is working and you can afford to live on much less, then you could probably take that risk, adjust your budget, and then you can actually really try and get there sooner and take that risk. And then if it doesn't work out, you go, cool, maybe go find another job, but you're safe then. But if with me switching to YouTube at the time, it was just me working. My wife was a stay-at-home mum, so I couldn't take that risk. Got kids to feed,
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You hit on something really important there. Was having that back, that little nest egg where it's okay. It depends what industry you're in as well. If you can quickly, if you're in an industry where you can find work really quickly, if you've got save up that little bit of nest egg, so you've got 3 months. Rent or whatever, your bills taken care of. So if you need to find a job quickly, or 6 months, probably ideally, but that just takes a little bit of pressure off it, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I actually think too, if you're someone who's younger or has the option, if you're actually still living at home, and you can live cheap, this is I always look back and think, man, I wasted some of these opportunities. But if you're in that position, you could just say, all right, I only need to work 1 or 2 days a week to live. As long as I don't go out and spend all my money partying, if I keep it tight, man, I can just workhorse this. I used to go for $20 a week back in the day too, because I wasn't making a ton of money.
Either we're so, showing our age, man.
Yeah.
Back in my day, you could have a great night.
Back in my day. Yeah, I went out with 2 sixpence. And, all I did was bring a sack of gold with me, and that got me a few beers.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny because I've got some clients of mine. You would have met them as well. They're just killing it on TikTok at the moment, just killing it, and their YouTube channel's just got 100K already. But they're sort of finding that they've got to plug a business model into what they're doing, and they're searching around for that at the moment. But they're at home. They're in their early 20s, these kids, and they've one of them I know he's quit his job because they've got enough coming in, with just enough to sort of just service what they're doing, and like that's a great. Because at the end of the day, I think the overarching principle with all this is you got to cut your overheads to a bare minimum. Like whenever you're doing stuff like this, it's just a good.
Yeah.
It's a good rule for life.
Yeah,
Actually.
you got to stockpile.
Keep it simple. Minimize your overheads.
Yeah. Oh, I could get into a whole
Which is like 3 hours
about
later
that,
we
but
come
we'll save
back,
that
and
for
that's
another
why
one.
you should minimize your overheads. Kids.
Yeah,
Thanks for
that's
listening. Yeah.
Yep. You don't want to get cancer.
Yeah. Wicked.
No, I tell you what though. One thing I think too with people in regard to doing any online thing, any online affair, a lot of people think if I build this following or build this platform, it'll all just work out. But it's like when you say to people you need some financial education, like the idea of budgeting and knowing how to invest all your money and look after, and there's now like the online version of that for business where you go, cool, now I have a platform on a following. What other ways I can make money? Because it's not just create a business. I mean, sure, you can just create a business and sell products attached to it, but now there's other ways of doing that. There's things like sponsorships, ad revenue, affiliate marketing, and all this stuff you can do that if you just educate yourself, you can, and if you start early, you can just plug it in later. But I've got videos I did years ago that have affiliate programs attached to them that did nothing for years, and my channel blew up and those videos started to get traction. All of a sudden, I was making money off things I'd set up years ago with affiliate links and bits and pieces. So it's good to be able to have some kind of online business education as well about how you can make money and plug it in.
Because the way I look at like business education is like it's whether it's online or real world, it's all business education. If it makes any sense, like in the
exactly.
consultancy world, I've heard it referred to as assets. You're building assets, which will pay off at a later date.
Yes.
But I think that's another thing. Like, eyeballs doesn't translate to dollars, and I think that's when you're starting out on this journey, like you've got to have an idea or have a ways in which you can actually craft that into what's my actual business model going to look like? How am I going to monetize an audience? It's not just enough to build an audience. If you got a massive audience, it helps, but it's having like you said, all those options on the table, like sponsorship, affiliate links, courses, like consultations, like all that sort
and
of
some
stuff.
things are better at the start and some things are better later. Coaching and time spent is better at the start because it's easier to make money, but when you blow up and like if you're having a lot of people actually approach you, then that becomes a bit too much to handle because you've got to put these hours in.
There's that old saying like you just jam your prices up. If you're valuable enough, people will pay for it.
That's true. That is true. You can definitely do that. And in regard to that, talking about business model, how did you get into what you're doing? And is there in regard to your brick and mortar business and what you're doing with YouTube, what's your story behind that?
Well, I've actually got a confession.
Yep.
I've never really had a boss.
Yeah, wow.
In my whole life, I've never really had a boss.
Jealous.
I've also never had a job. No.
You've been unemployed this whole time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm doing it. But anyway, I've always been that way inclined, but like not that way inclined as in I like building businesses. It's more of I like a certain lifestyle.
Yep.
I've always chased a lifestyle as opposed to I want to build a business, I want to build a company.
Yes. Yeah, same.
So in my 20s, my background, my education is in music. So all of my businesses are obviously in music and coaching to do with music. So I started out in my 20s starting 2 businesses. One was teaching and coaching people how to learn and play guitar. And the other one was I started a music production company, which was a fantastic creative exercise and very beneficial from an educational standpoint. But from a business perspective, it was just a steaming disaster. But it was I treated it as my master's degree. I didn't go into it as a business thing. I was just like finishing uni. I had all this stuff going on. I'm like, I really want to do this for some reason. And I just did it. And it was one of those things where you get to the next step. Oh yeah, cool. And then you get to the next step. And then, you're doing all this amazing stuff creatively and working with cool people. And then so you get a lot of experience in business and dealing with people, negotiating contracts and whatnot, logistics, organizing with that sort of stuff. But my current business was just something that I just had ticking over on the side. And what happened with that was that just kept growing through word of mouth. As it was one of those things where I was only working on it part-time. So it just grew naturally, word of mouth. And it got really to the point where I couldn't see any more people face to face. I was literally like just booked stupidly solid, which was great for something where you haven't actually sat down and drawn up, the PowerPoints and the massive game plan on how to build a business. So
that's awesome. And I feel like, just sorry to interrupt you there for a second, but it just goes to show you too that sometimes what you're good at is not necessarily what you want to do, but it almost will grow itself, because once one person gets onto it, another person gets onto it, because my design business was the same, yeah. So you had the thing you wanted to do, and then the other one wasn't your main focus. But obviously,
the thing is, I quickly learnt the thing I wanted to do, I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
because I remember getting to a point where I had both things going at once, and I was literally just working. My whole life was work. There was just no space for anything else, and I hit my late 20s, and I'm just like, something's got to give here.
Yeah.
And I took a little bit of a sabbatical. So I decided to skim things back and took a sabbatical living overseas. And to fund I was thinking things from a lifestyle perspective, even though I wasn't totally illiterate from a business point of view. I was just going, okay, I want to go live in Europe for a bit. I've got a business here in Australia. And I just started going, all right, hey people, let's do lessons via Skype.
Yeah.
And this is 8 years ago, man. We're talking before COVID.
Yeah,
so
wow.
Like, some people are like, this, like, great. And some people are like, what?
Yeah.
Like your clientele looking at you.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. But anyway, it worked out time zone wise perfectly. I could get up in the morning, work part-time, and fund my lifestyle over there.
Yep.
Which was great. And then literally, to fast forward the story, lived in Europe, and I just gradually refined the business doing it that way, which is still, I guess it's a bricks and mortar. People are paying for your time. There's no passive income coming in there. But what are we? Fast forward, how far back was COVID? Like 3 years?
Yeah.
Late 2019? No, yeah. Like pretty much, yeah, start of 2020, right?
Yep.
So, and then by the time that rolled around, I'd had, 4 or 5 years of just developing this system to the point where, like, as soon as COVID hit, I had that, like, everyone just went online instantly. I didn't have to devise a system, develop a system. I had everything just set up already.
Yeah, very lucky to have that foresight, eh?
Well, it wasn't foresight.
Not foresight, but yeah.
It was just luck. It was preparation, but it was just, this is working. Because what was cool about it was, like, when I returned to Australia, I had people who were like clients who lived in the same city as I did, but it was just more convenient for them to do it online. And it's like, even my regular clients that I see today, I'd say 50% of them are online. So yeah, so that was just luck. COVID was great, and it made everyone just go, okay, this is the new normal now. This is reality. This is how people can share ideas or share training or coaching or anything like that. And it just made it acceptable because there was no alternative.
Yeah.
So, yeah, from that point, that's how my bricks and mortar business went online from that perspective. But from the YouTube channel, like, I started out from the point of, I know nothing about film. I know nothing about presenting. And I've had to do like an apprenticeship in that. So it was, I think I started posting first videos in 2018. I think it was like that end of that first quarter.
Sounds about
first
right.
quarter 2018, I think. And it was, I still have the same attitude. I'm like, I know this is going to suck. Like, I know the content's not going to be great, but I'd rather suck and get better than not try and just not do it. Because I think long term, if you want to scale your business, particularly in a coaching scenario, online you have to do it. That's the way it goes.
Well, everything's a skill set, hey. And like if you look at it, I know that we were talking before the podcast about jiu-jitsu. That like the amount of years it takes to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu, it's a skill you have to learn to attain that level where someone can go, yes, you can wear this and represent that skill level. And I feel like getting your black belt on YouTube, getting your black belt in business, getting your black belt in anything, it's just you start off as a white belt where you're flailing around, you look hopeless, but you got to do it. you have to do it. You got to flail around for a little while before things become cohesive and start to work.
And do it enthusiastically.
Yes.
Because man, like I've got no shame in saying, like, I look back, like I try not to look back at videos, like not because I find it cringeworthy, but it feels like I'm looking at someone else, but I'm just like, you dickhead. Like, what are you doing, man?
Exactly
like,
what you mean.
Who's that guy? Yeah. I'm glad it's a mutual thing.
I love those YouTubers who will say the exact same thing in their videos. There's a guy I follow online named Roberto Blake, and he keeps all of his videos up. And you go back to the old ones, and you just go, wow, this guy has evolved so much from this. You can see he was trying his best at the start, but now he's a guy with 500,000 subs on YouTube, and it's just like the quality is a whole different level. And
I think that's the thing. Unless you're coming to it from where you've got a really solid skill set in film, production, like you got to grind, like you got to learn.
100%.
Like I think people see Peter McKinnon, like I don't know whether I'm sure he's still doing it, great, but like he was a film guy and he just came in. Because I remember friends of mine telling me about him like 2017-ish, and he's just killing it. He's got personality like off the charts, and like he's making these really entertaining videos. But he's a gun he's a filmmaker. He's total gun.
Yeah, he had this skill set to walk in with.
Yeah, and it's like, look, here's how Peter McKinnon started a YouTube channel in 12 months and is making like millions of followers. It's like he had that skill set. He didn't just start making videos. So that's why
his footage looks beautiful as well to back it up.
Yeah. And like the dude just had like charisma.
Yeah.
I'm sure he still does.
Yeah. Not anymore.
unless
the great charisma loss of 2015.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say the same thing, man.
Yeah.
But like and look, it's a process, and I feel like with video content, like with my channel now, it's sort of that first, I remember getting that first 100 subscribers and just go, wow, did it. It took forever, but like you get there, and then like your first 1,000, and it's like, wow, I think it took 3 years to get the first 1,000.
Yeah, yep.
And then like the second 1,000 comes in like 12 months, and then touch wood, I feel like I'm starting to get things a little bit better, and the channel's starting to grow really, really quickly. It's not to the point where it's anywhere near your channel, but it's one of those things where it's a process, and that process doesn't stop. There's always things you can improve and refine.
Yep.
So that's pretty much the nuts and bolts from wrapping up my journey.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to my story.
Yeah.
Mate.
Oh, well, I would just like to say too, one thing to remember is only 18 months ago, I had 4,500 subscribers on YouTube, whereas now it's 56,000. So you don't know when the snowball will come, because, like you said, you look at your old videos and you go, "Oh man, they're horrible," or "Who's this idiot?" Because your skill gets better, then the videos perform better. But when the videos perform better, you reach more people, and your skill continues to get better. So and like you said, the second 1,000 came quicker. The next few thousand. And before you know it, you're creating a lot of high-quality videos, but you just find one that's on the right topic, and it just shoots off. And so I think anyone looking to do any kind of online business, if you keep working at it and chipping away at it, you'll have the same impact eventually.
Yeah.
It's not that people are good, it's that they're just dedicated and stick to it for long enough.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, like everything we spoke about with your business, where you have to balance your workflow and cash flow and all that sort of stuff. And like I'm lucky enough, I'm in the position now where I can buy myself about 15 hours a week now for YouTube, which is about 4 days full. Not 4 days, sorry. That's probably about 2 days full time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
but that's but I've just pulled up a quote because when we were talking about it before, I wanted to say like where you talk about that tipping point. Because I've heard it before, and I'm going to sound like I've got to give my best quote giving voice here. But if one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. Man. Thank you Forbes.com for putting that one together for Henry David Thoreau. Apologies if I'm butchering the French pronunciation of that name.
But man, I just want to, that's a great quote. It's funny actually. I have a funny thing with quotes where sometimes I hear them and I think, oh, I have this thing where I kind of cringe because of how they sound, but they always hit the nail on the head at the same time. So I love-hate relationship with quotes. Do you know Teddy Atlas, the boxing trainer? No, I don't. Sorry.
I'm going to start that sentence again. He has the best quotes. Like he's you wouldn't expect it, but he's just got some of the best quotes, man. And he's just learnt. He's just learnt through life. And I encourage anyone who's interested in cool quotes or inspirational quotes. He did a podcast with Lex Friedman. You know the just genius guy.
Yeah,
I think he's a software engineer. I think he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu too.
Yeah. Actually, I think he just recently got his first degree as well. Yeah, and he's also interviewed a bunch of jiu-jitsu and MMA guys as well. Yeah.
But anyway, like Teddy Atlas did an interview with him, and it's about 2 hours, but it's amazing, man. Like it talks about his life, and you can learn so much out of life just because this dude's he's lived a rough life, but he's got so much wisdom.
Yep.
Like you can't learn that from a book. He's just lived it.
Yep.
Yeah, really, because not very often do I come across people who literally from start to finish, they've just got pearls of wisdom.
Yeah. I got to say too, you got those people, they're out there, they're awesome. And without those people, you don't see the advances that you see in the world. And we're lucky we're in this stage now where those people have a place to put that information that we can get to it. So we all get to benefit from their experience as opposed to right now you're a 3-hour drive away from me and we're having a conversation. Like
what a time to be alive.
Yeah,
son.
But you know what I mean? Like if it was 100 years ago and you discovered all this awesome stuff about how to make a business, I would have to visit you. You'd have to visit me or write me a letter. You could write a book, but I'd have to know that book exists. So, it's awesome. Like
that's the thing I think gets lost in a lot of people is like, I'm not saying there's not shit going on in the world, but man, what a time to be alive in terms of learning stuff. Like information transfer is ridiculous. It's like, because it's rewarding when you see that feedback, like just through your channel. It's like, you've never met these people. They live on opposite sides of the world. And it's like, cool.
Yeah.
Like, they got it. They got something out of your content, or you helped them do something, which is really cool, really rewarding.
I agree. And then you get like the regulars. There's I got guys from like LA, and there was another guy from I think he's from Pakistan, and people all over the shop leaving comments on my videos regularly, which is really cool. It's a different world. It's really cool. You just and you can choose to doom scroll on memes and shorts, or you can choose to spend that time actually looking where there's information you can use. And to be honest, it's just as fun. You still get the dopamine hit, but you get smarter. Like why wouldn't you?
I don't know, man. People who I don't know. I find it amusing, man, when people leave comments, because it's like, man, this person's gone out of their way to be a dickhead. It's like and it's like I think I get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
Because they could have just gone stuff this dickhead, I'm not giving him the time of day, but it's like they took their time to write a comment. It's like, cool, man.
Yeah. Oh, I got to tell you, this is completely... I've been driving around, and probably about 3 times in my life I've had people really give me the finger in the most aggressive, they mean it. Yeah. And I cannot help but crack up and laugh, because here I am in my car, and then there's a dude staring at me like he wants to kill me, and out comes the finger like it's going to ruin my day, and I can't help it. It's hilarious.
You just get on a bike. Get on a bike, man. Like
Yeah.
ride a bike anywhere during the middle of the day. Like I used to ride a bike to train and like to the gym, and it's like it just like, yeah, man, people and cyclists, they don't get along. But dude, if we were to wrap up our points, so let's summarize like some pearls of wisdom for people who are either working a current job, looking to transition onto something online, or they've got a current pre-existing bricks and mortar business and they're wanting to transfer their services online. What's the, like, let's come up with 3 points each, man. Go.
All right. First one I would say is just stick with it. Keep going. You'll get there. The second one is find ways to make money quicker in the new avenue you're in that you can then use and transition from again. So lots of transition from the job to the new job, transition from very active services you can make money quickly into more passive sort of services that you can be more hands-off with. The third one is, again, doom scroll on information, not on memes and funny shorts. Just get obsessed with finding more information and have fun doing it. And on to you. Yeah,
like that last one. You have to enjoy it. There's plenty of things you can go do for money. Like, you have to enjoy working hard. That's one thing I tell people all the time is, I'm going to call this point 3.5, is that you have to be excited about the work. Like, even though it's work and like, you know, there's times where you're worn out at the end of a long day, but like, you have to like have something which is like, there's meaning to it. It's rewarding in the very least. I think the other thing too is there's a very good intelligent man called Naval Ravikant who's just an all-round smart dude. And he's got a quote which is, be impatient with work but patient with results, or I'm butchering it. Like, it's something to that effect where you got to put the work in but you got to be patient with the results. And I think that's the thing where because if you're constantly reliant on something else to justify what you're doing, anyone who started a business, like that's going to be a really unpleasant time. Like, starting businesses is difficult at the best of times, but having something where you've just put in a video, your first video, you put, let's just say 20 hours into it, gets 6 views. Like, you just made, like, the point is not to make the video. You have to look at it from the process. Like, if you're going to get good at something, you've got to do it hundreds of times. And I think that's the thing, like taking that bigger view is the process, work on that, enjoy that process, and then the results take care of themselves when the process has reached that level where it's impacting people positively.
You're less likely to give up if you enjoy it too.
Yeah, and look, it sounds kind of hokey, but I think the last one too, man, and you touched on it when you were telling everybody about it, was that manage that transition smartly. Like, manage your like, do that transition with your money in the right way. Like, don't just look. You can if you everyone can have a free shot in the dark. Like, but if you're okay with starting over again, but you know, if you do have a house or a family or children, like, you've got to be responsible in how you transition, like from a business to an online setting, and just be smart about it.
100%. I agree with that one.
Yeah, man. All right. Cool. Well, it's been a good chat, dude.
And we'll talk to you next time. And thanks for listening, guys. I hope you appreciate that, and that's giving you some insight.
So where can people find Young Wade's channel?
Well, you can simply look for my name, Wade McMaster, which is WadeMcMaster, or look for Creator Impact. Now, I've got a website, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube's probably the best place. I'd search for Wade McMaster on YouTube or Creator Impact, one or the other. Find me there. What about you?
Mate, people, you can find me at High Point Music on YouTube or at HPM Guitar for if you want to get in touch, or we'll set up a YouTube channel for our podcast. But like, that's if they want to follow my work and what I'm doing there. Other than that, thanks for listening, people. We'll catch you on the next one.